Yar har feedle-dee-dee, being a pirate is alright with me. Do what you want, 'cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate. You are a pirate. We got us a map to lead us to a hidden box. That's all hold up with locks, and very deep away. We'll dig up the box. You know it's full of precious booty. Burst open the locks, and then we'll sing hooray. Okay, I hurt your ears enough. So yeah, this is my completed Scarlet Inn fleet. This is actually two separate teams, but I figured I would show them off. And I figured you would get a kick out of me singing one of the more interesting songs on YouTube. We got a couple little RC car bombs here, and I need to do a video on these because I keep seeing people play these wrong on battle reports. Suffice to say, people are missing out on damage, but we'll talk about that later sometime. Anyway, I like these. I made them cute and explosive. Bright colors. This is actually one of the, other than the limo, I think this is actually one of the brighter colored armies I've done. But yeah, this is the Presidential Pirates, because this is a presidential limo turned into a monster truck. It's got front-facing mortar and a front-facing ram. And we've got our skull and crossbones in gold. Got springed chassis, and it's just a matchbox limo. And so the only thing about it is I was going to do a lot more detail to it, but when I took it apart, there's no interior on this matchbox limo, and so I really couldn't do guys just sitting in the car, to make it look right. But I still think I did pretty good, even though you can't see the driver. You've got guys sitting out here, ready to smack people with a sword. This guy's got a sword and dagger. Boarding party is a must-have perk for Scarlett, so if you can afford it for your builds, you should always take that perk. And so you got these guys here, they're ready to jump in and start some trouble. And you got a guy here, he's basically tied himself to the cannon mortar so he doesn't fall off. And I got the ram is a matchbox, one of the construction vehicles. And the spiky nails are spiky nails. I got a little jar of random nails, and I just started gluing them in there. So, and nothing too special there. But this is actually a really good vehicle, I think. It's perfect for Scarlet Inn. So they can take crew at half the cost of everybody else. So if you can't afford it, you should pack your vehicles tight with pirates. And so normally a monster truck carries 2 people. This one carries 4. So you want that boarding party because they get their audience votes by destroying things they're touching. So when you actually get into a situation where you actually ram somebody, you can also fire your mortar, and 3 other dudes can fire. And so if you have crew-fired weapons like grenades, Molotov cocktails, I really don't recommend Molotov cocktails, though they can actually backfire on you. But gas grenades are kind of cool. And submachine guns, shotguns, blunderbusses. Blunderbusses are actually really good thematic weapons for Scarlet. And also the blunderbuss is pretty cheap for a crew-fired weapon, so it's a good weapon for them. But that's that. And this is the teammate. We got I really haven't came up with a name for this one yet because, you know, that's the presidential pirate limo. But we've got the traditional drive me closer, I want to hit it with my sword fella. You got a ram, shotgun, swords, minigun, 35 Cadillac. The funny thing is about this is my father is a big time fan of classic cars, and he's not normally a General Motors fan, but he was like, what did that Cadillac ever do to you to make you do this to it? But anyway, we still got our skull and crossbones. And it's hard to see in here, but I've actually got a female pirate, and this thing is not, I swear, I've got to figure out how to get these things to stay in focus. But there is a female pirate in the back here sitting all luxury, like, I don't know if I can get a good view of it in there. It's easier to see in person. But hard part, of course, was fitting these guys in here because this didn't actually fit very well. So I had to do a lot of chopping and sculpting, and the kit I got these from it's a really hard green plastic, and it does not want to sand well or scrape well to shape, and it's almost the same material as like army men, and so the swords and everything, they kind of came out rough, but then again, I guess it kind of works because Scarlet Inn is thematically pirates. They dress like pirates. They act like pirates. They walk the plank. They do all of that. Landlubber, coming for your booty kind of things. But they're still very much an apocalyptic team. So I'm guessing that a lot of these swords are probably made out of sheet metal or sharpened bumpers. If you've ever played Fallout New Vegas, the bumper swords. Kind of the same idea. And a ginger. You never make a ginger mad. And really try to go as colorful as possible, and kind of, with this being the presidential pirates, I went with the red, white, and blue kind of thing on a purplish burgundy color. I actually made this color myself. I mixed a metallic red with a purple, and it's official Cadillac color. I've seen it, and I was trying to make it, but it's not quite there. And then we got a little bit of a skull batwing thing from the Night Lords from 40K. Just to kind of make it still look a little bit scarier than it already needs to be. And then we've got this other team here, which is the Pirate Medical Corps, because we have the ambulance with a ram, side-mounted machine guns, and turret-mounted harpoon. This is also the one that will be dropping RC car bombs. Though in that build, I usually just use this as a front-mounted harpoon. And we've got, our captain here in teal and brown. And we got this fella here. He's hanging off the edge, getting ready to stab somebody. And the driver's got one hand on the steering wheel and an axe out the window. So they're pretty good at defending themselves. Got a fella here loading up his shotgun to repel boarders. or, you know, get to boarding. And I like this one. This one's actually pretty cool. This is actually a real wide. Being a Southerner and trying to speak English is extremely hard. But yeah, real rider tires. And this time I remembered to take the tires off before I painted it, because if you prime rubber tires, they'll get really sticky and tacky. And I made that same mistake with this thing, and it was a mess because this is all rubber tires here, and it's like, it doesn't stick very well to the tire, but it'll stick great to you and everything else. And we've got the the Red Cross symbols here, and a little bit of rust, but I like this one. And then, of course, I've got these two Baja Bone Shakers. Bone Shakers are a pretty obvious choice for Scarlet Inn team. So these, of course, have extra crew. Oh yeah, this is ambulance. 3 crew is normal. This one here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 2 guys basically inside it that you wouldn't be able to see, so we're not going to worry about that. But yeah, these are pretty bog standard builds for Scarlet. These are front mounted bazookas, extra crew, fender kiss because they don't have rams, and crew fired weapons is a pretty good build for them. Scarlet normally likes to have a big vehicle for smashing, and then if you're going to do up close and personal shooting, the perk Fender Kiss is really good for them because you lose 2 dice on your smash, but everybody that smashes you also loses 2 dice. And if you have boarding party, that means if you whack this guy, okay, you've got one person that's going to fire the bazooka, and bazooka's a blast weapon. If you have grenades, you have 2 guys throwing grenades, that's blast, or steel nets, and shotguns and submachine guns and whatever. You just put out a ton of dice, so you're not really worried about the smash effect. So normally you'll smash into somebody, elect to evade. If they smash back, you've got some protection, and then you just unload on them with your shots. And they got this little parrot here. It's actually a D&D eagle familiar, but I figured painting it up like a parrot kind of works. And it gives a lot of bright color to a rusty, dusty vehicle. I got some orc skull crossbone decals on this one. And this one here is got some Space Wolf skulls. And so yeah, bone shakers are really good for Scarlet, especially if you want to run the. I run these as buggies, and I could see somebody running this as a car too. So your regular bone shaker hot rods are also pretty good for running these as Scarlet buggies. So anyway, I wanted to show off my little team here, and I figured y'all would like to see that. And I will set these aside here because we're going to shift gears. Pun. And we'll talk a little bit about some Rusty's builds I did. And this is Mercy, because she's a Mercedes, with a front ram and armor. So she's not a shooter, she is a straight up rammer. Cattle hammer, alcohol trailer. Though I can also see
case to be made for sour mash. But very, very simple paint scheme. It's black, matte black. Because I wanted this to be a drunk who's also a little bit, drunk rage. She's a meanie. She's got Old Possum malt liquor, which I think is a from Fallout 4, because that's where I found that particular design. I was looking for a post-apocalyptic companies and stuff to make signage. But one good thing about this car here is, one, chassis works. There's little springs in it. It's a Margaret, yeah. And the door's open. Oh, I have to set this here because I need both hands to work this. And we almost lose it off the table. But there we go. Both doors open, but for the risk of not dropping it again, you can see here Mercy is behind the wheel, and her co-pilot is over here, holding on for dear life. And this came off of Nork, and this is tops of yogurt containers that were flattened out and made into armor plates. And then we have this bad boy. This is my last month's car of the month entry. This is Old Fred's One Big Gun. And you got Old Fred back here. Probably has had too much moonshine. But he is the gunner of this truck. And it's got a obvious BFG, front rounded ram, and it's a little bit of a crazier build than anything. The last month's competition was as many wheels as you could fit on a vehicle. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of wheels, a back wheel, which makes it 13. And if you count the crushy thing at the front, that makes it 14 wheels. And you got this enormous blower for the massive engine. And I actually imagine this thing actually has 2 engines, because it's going to need more horsepower to get this thing up to speed. And it's why you've got this massive exhaust coming off the side. So this is actually just a dollar store action figure gun. Final Faction bits, a Sisters of Battle turret that I had spare, some parts from Finn's custom diecast, and some parts off of a old resin gun carriage that I had. And it is, when I say old resin, I mean it's the old toxic yellow resin that you have to wear a mask when you're sanding for safety. Got these Russian shells, and I basically had to cut this out so I could make it look like these shells, are loaded in and then fired. And tactically, it's got I can run this with cattle hammer or sour mash as well, because this gun gives you 3 hazards when it goes back. Sour mash, when you get 5 hazards, you basically turn into a dragster, so it can go a medium back and then immediately a long straight forward. So if you're in a race, it's actually one of the few builds that doesn't hurt you to fire a BFG. And of course, if you're in like a death race, you're not worried about that anyway. But the really cool thing nice. It lights up. I preserved that. So it actually, headlights work, running lights work, tail lights work, and you can see here, if I can get this thing to focus, got all these dials and stuff for, I really wanted to make it look like this gun is just like something that came off of like a futuristic battleship that they just slapped on here. And the story I came up with this one was that old Fred was tired of Truckosauruses eating his sheep and making off with old Betsy. So he's going to get even with all the Truckosauruses in the wasteland with this massive gun. And you can see it's already been fired a couple times, and it's got the barrel is kind of warping and discoloring from the heat. But anyway, you got the requisite dirt and rust of a good Rusty's build, and yeah, that crazy guy with a sword. Like I said, old Fred, he's got a submachine gun too. So anyway, those are the builds I completed. I just got my other the work in progress is on the porch primed because the weather's cooperating, so that's a good thing. And I know this video is actually running a little bit long, but there is one other thing I wanted to show you, and I didn't get to show you because I forgot about it. And this is my other work in progress that has been completed. And this is my slime war rig. I haven't really named it yet, but I'm kind of tentatively calling it the gridiron, because there is a lot of iron on these, especially these iron nails. And I'm going to have a fun time painting this thing because it is monstrously spiky. But it's got a wreck lobber made out of an actual like D&D style catapult. I said before in other previous videos I was going to do something with it, and so I did something with it. And we've got this tower here. I used the top of a bottle of a Sundrop to make basically a turret for this, and it's got a crane and a magnet, picks up a wrecked car out of the back, swings it out, swings it around, drops it here. Then you got these massive engines that crank. I'll paint this up to be metal instead of a rope, so it'll be like a little more believable. And then it'll come down, and it'll get all that tension stored up, and then fling! And so you got hatches and more nails, more nails. I'm going to have so many holes in me when I get this thing finished painted.